money. It's your deposit ile ya 180 shillings yenye umeacha kwa account, ni pesa yangu kidogo 94 shillings yenye nimeacha kwa account, ndio wamekuwa wakicheza nayo hiyo mchezo to like defranchise us and like take away money from the economy to the government. And it's also worth noting that the PMF Act and our constitution are very clear that we can only borrow the monies kama hizi pesa zinaenda kwa development. What does that mean? Inamaanisha kila loan yenye tumesign inafaa kuwa against a certain project. Now, by the way, it's also acha kwanza nimalize, so many things running in my mind at the same time. So if we borrowed for the current expenditure, then Kenyans don't owe anyone any shilling. If we use the monies for the current expenditure, I repeat again, we don't owe anyone even a single cent, because it is upon the lender to ensure that as anapeana pesa ana follow all the laws of this land. So kama ni China loans and whatever ndo wanatupea pesa, it is upon them to ensure that the people that are signing the money on behalf of Kenyans wamefuata sheria zote zenye ziko ku ensure that this debt ina comply na sheria zetu na apparently with their terms, because if we are paying those interest rates, we are paying at your terms. So for you to give us, we also have our constitution, we also have our PMF Act. Those have to be followed. And why did Ruto decide to pay the odious debt? And yet mtu kama Wanjigi and Okiya Omtata were raising voices about the odious debt, this debt being odious way before even like within the election. I remember the people that were there in the space early in the morning and saying that nilikuwa nimeona nani amelipa prime time aelezea historia debt way before even we went to election. So why didn't Ruto come in and say that, okay, what I'm going to do, I will not call for the national audit of the debt, but I'm going to pay every coin of it, and sita pingana, despite the fact that there are voices all over. It's the mere fact that the benefactors of these loans do wali place hapo in the first place. It's the IMF, it's the World Bank. Like the end him in that position in the first place. So it doesn't have the legitimacy, it doesn't have the balls, it doesn't have the strength, it doesn't have the courage to stand and say, unajua nini, mimi as a president, as I'm coming in, I'm calling on to the audit, our debt before I pay even a single coin. And it's also worth remembering that most of these loans were procured between 2013 and 2017 when he was the deputy president of Kenya. So majority of these loans were zilikuwa in his own nini, alikuwa anazijua. So he can't really go back and then claim that hakuwa anajua. That is it. You were part and parcel of it. Kama ni hao IMF, they knew him, and that's why they chose him in the first place. I was sharing with someone, namwambia, you know what, it's so unfortunate that the last days towards our general elections, you could tell that the servers zenye zilikuwa zina host our election hazikuwa Kenya hata kidogo, they were in Seattle. Seattle is in US. And if you know what we are fighting here, you understand that it's generally the US, the IMF, the World Bank was so determined to have their own puppet there, though when they could defranchise this country. That's why it was more of an interview between Ruto and Raila, who is more of a puppet for them. And the more the puppet, the better for them. And whoever was more of the puppet, though they went for. Thank you.
Yeah, Babu. We are listening. I'm listening very perfectly. The IMF, ukicheki hapo juu, you can see how the countries are poor, you know. These are the top, how many countries?
Nadhani mkono iko juu, tuongee.
You hear me?
Yes.
Nasema yani hapo juu nimeweka hiyo kitu ya the IMF is killing African countries. Are you hearing that?
Yeah, we can get you. Ruston.
So you can check what IMF has done. You know, it has done this to all the countries in Africa. So these are very big business for them. You know, these what supports European economy. Really, the Europeans live
If
like
not,
this.
Daktari,
Bro, the
you were
Europeans,
giving
they live
your
like
presentation
this.
before drop. Si unaweza malizia kindly, Daktari?
I think there is a miscommunication, word Mike, between you and Ruston. Ruston was good.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's not hearing me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. But me, I cannot get out. He get out, he come back. No, I don't get out. Hello. So what I'm saying is, if we check out this map about IMF, you can see these guys have made Africa poor. And what I know and what we know, because we're intelligent people, these are money which maintains European economy and their standard of life. Okay.
Niko kweli ama kumeendaje sisikii watu?
Shuka ukuje.
Mimi nasikia rasta. Tuko clear.
I'm also getting very well. I think they have cloned you. They cloned me, nilishuka nikarudi. So just land and then come back. Ruston, and maybe you can also. Metali is here. Metali has a very good understanding of where we are.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. John. Yes, so everyone, this is sort of, we are all learning what's going on. Thank you, Rasta, for the platform. Thank you for that post you put for the IMF at the top, showing each country how much they borrow and are dependent on the IMF and the loans we have. And you can see Kenya was 4.1 or something like that in dollars. Now, Babu Yako clearly stated it very well. I want each and every one of you to go, when you have a moment, go to your Google, go to the PMF Act for 2012 for Kenya. Go and see section 15.2C. 15.2C clearly states Kenya can borrow on a medium term or long term for development only. And not recurrent expenditure. What recurrent expenditure?
Bro, can you screenshot? You put it up here. It's easy for everybody, please. We'll have it forever. Please, if not now, but go on. You know what I mean?
Sure. Not a problem. We're all learning together here. Okay. So, section 15, part 2, section C says we can only borrow for development and not recurrent. And I just want to explain to everyone who may know or may not know, recurrent means salaries or repayment of loans. Now, our debt, everybody knows how our debt looks like, almost 11 trillion. I think it's 10.5, but we can round it off to 11. 5.4 or 5.2 is domestic, and that is treasury bills and treasury bonds. The rest, which is maybe 5.4, is the loans like IMF, China loans, London loans, or syndicated loans where the Eurobonds are. And that's what is regarded as external debt or foreign international debt. Now, with what Babu, and I'm just echoing what he's saying, our laws are clear. We only borrow for development and not to pay salaries. One of the big things I've had in different platforms from Dr. Ekuro Okot, he's pushing up a bill called the Punguza Mizigo Bill. Right now, as we know, as of June 30th, the tax revenue collected by Kenyans for the last 12 months, from July last year to June 30th this year, was 2.3 trillion. Out of the 2.3 trillion, 1.6 went to pay debt. That put us at a 69 or 70% of what we collect going to debt. Meaning, leo kona salary ya 10,000 shillings per month, 7,000 goes to pay Fuliza. Or kama una make salary ya 100,000 a month, each month, before even you pay rent or you put food on the table, imagine 70,000 shillings goes to pay a Fuliza loan. So as Kenyans, what Kenya is collecting every 12 months, 70% goes to pay debt. And debt is divided into domestic and foreign. Now, another section I want to talk about is our salaries. If we know 70% of what we collect goes to debt, meaning if the last 12 months we collected 2.3 and 1.6 was debt, we're only left with 700 billion. Out of that 700 billion, 1.1 goes to pay salaries for all government employees and county. Now, already there's a deficit of almost 400 billion right there, just off the go. Where does Kenya get money to pay the deficit of that 400 billion? It goes to domestic debt. CBK will issue every week, and for treasury bills are issued. Every 2 weeks, treasury bonds are issued. Remember, our laws are clear. We only borrow for development and not recurrent. So over the last 10 years, since 2014, we have been having a huge wage bill and going against the constitution to pay recurrent expenditure, which involves debt repayments and salaries. Over time, that debt has been growing to where we are today. So domestic debt today sits at 5.2 or 5.4, whomever wants to calculate it in that manner. We are in a very big hole as we speak today. Somebody talked in a previous conversation why the finance bill was rejected. Yes, the finance bill for 2024 June was rejected by the citizens of Kenya. There is the one Okiya Mantata filed last year in July 2023 that also got rejected. Now, the reason it got rejected was because of public participation. But the most important thing that it got rejected was Section 2, Chapter 12 of our Constitution, Section 220, that talks about publishing of revenue estimates and expenditure estimates. What revenue estimates means, just in simple terms, not to overcomplicate it, because not to confuse anyone, revenue estimates just simply means how much is needed for the budget. Is it 5 trillion, 2 trillion, 3 trillion? Like now, last year, the budget was 3.4 or 3.5 trillion. So it needs to say the budget for 2023-2024 is 3.5 trillion, just as an example. So it's meant to table for any development that is borrowed, whether externally, where is the money coming from? Is it coming from World Bank? Is it coming from China? Is it coming from USA, Bank of India? And it has to be tied to a project. So if you're borrowing money, the Ministry of Lands wants to do a development, to excavate land, to divide land, government land. Where is the money coming from to do that project? If the Ministry of Education wants to build 100 schools in the whole of the country, the Bank of India wants to issue a fund towards that. So it is tied to a project. The reason the finance bill was rejected by Okiya Mantata, who petitioned for it, is because the Court of Appeal found out the revenue estimates were never published. And in fact, they have never been published over the last 10 years. So it's not just Ruto's government now, even the previous regime. Because when you publish the revenue estimates, you'll have to say, if our salaries and wages are 1.1, our debt is 1.6, and we're only collecting 2.1, 2.3, there's always a hole of 400 or 500 billion that they cannot account for So they never publish the revenue estimate because they cannot tie the deficits of maybe of what remains after paying debt, and you have to pay salaries. And the law clearly states you only borrow for development. So that has never been passed, and that is why the Court of Appeal crushed that Finance Act, because the submissions of the Appropriations Act never carried the revenue estimates. They only have the expenditure estimates, what will be spent on, but they don't say where the money comes from. Now, I give an example. I had Eric Omondi saying on TV about Texas. Texas, a state in the United States, is 2 times bigger than Kenya. Kenya has 47 counties. Texas has 254. Just go on Google and type Texas, how many counties are in Texas? And remember, the devolution was adopted from the USA, the way of getting senators, governors, back in 2011 after the Constitution. They adopted the way the US does devolution. We went and got the idea from the US. Texas has 254 counties. But in Texas, only one governor is managing 254 counties. In Kenya, we have 47 counties with 47 governors. When it comes down to senators, Texas has 2 senators managing policies for 254 counties. Just let that sink in. 2 senators managing 254 counties versus Kenya, we have 47 counties with 47 senators. Now, let's move down to the women reps. We have 47 women reps. Each of these women reps, on the budget each year, they are given 170 million to cater to their counties. Each. I saw the other day, was it Mandera or somewhere, or Mandera, a women rep lady was flying on a helicopter. She was trying to land, but the helicopter could not land because of the geographical area she was trying to land. The helicopter was not being able to land. How could she afford to fly with a helicopter? Most of us may not even have the money to even pay for 150,000 shillings to fly for 30 minutes or an hour to hire a helicopter. How is a woman's rep salary roughly 500,000 Kenyan shillings? And that is gross. If you remove taxes, her take home is 350,000, but she can hire a helicopter for 100,000 shillings an hour. How? You've not bought food, you've not paid maybe school fees for your children, you've not done this. So even that check you're getting for 500K shillings.
Please, he's a thief. He's a thief. She's a thief. All of them are thieves. Gone. Sorry.
Okay. I'm just giving it in simple context for us to understand here the dynamics of our wage bill of 1.1 trillion. A mere woman rep getting 100 or 150, 170 million per year. Every 12 months, they're given that budget. You're seeing them flying with helicopters. Most of us may not be able to ever hire a helicopter at 100,000. Her salary is 500K and some change. If you remove tax, maybe 350. You can't be flying with a helicopter with 100,000. Number 2.
No. It cannot work. No. Seriously,
Yes.
it cannot work. Because some of us, bro, some of us have stayed here, Maju, for a long time, and that's the money we earn, and we don't ride helicopters. What the fuck? Go on, man. I'm sorry. I'm getting whacked up, you know. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's okay. Yes. So our MPs, I don't know what it is So we want change. I agree. Our MPs make a salary of 724,000. Ukitoa tax ya 30%, they make slightly 510,000. What is making an MP be motivated to come and legislate, provide oversight, and represent their people? It is the CDF money. CDF for an MP is 200 million per year, 250. I think this new the finance bill that was going to pass, I think they were going to get 250 million per year. So what they do, they come and give you some development in your constituency. Maybe they build a small road, they take pictures on, they call TV, the TV comes and sees, oh, they've built a road here. Maybe the road cost, and it's for the whole year, maybe the road cost 50 million, 70 million at best. But ask yourself, they were given 200 million. So maybe they used 70. Where is the 130? That 130, if that MP sits on that chair for 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, a new government comes in, they become a cabinet secretary, is where you come and start hearing the thing called net worth. Somebody over 10 years somebody who has been an MP for 10 years is now having a net worth of 600 million. Well, all of us we may never be able to see 600 million in our accounts one day. Now, let me go back to the PFM Act. Our laws are not being followed. And that is why we are where we are today. The PFM Act is clear. Our salaries for the county and national government should be 35% of what is collected by tax revenue. What that means is SRC is the Salaries Remuneration Committee. Every year after the Auditor General audits the revenue collections, which should happen at least within, I think it's 3 months from the end of the financial year, which is June 30th. So around September, around there, next month, they come and tell people, ARA collected 2.3, and that is what has been collected as of this June 30th, 2 months ago. They need to come and calculate what is 35% of 2.3. It is 750 billion. They come and tell people our salaries today are at 1.1 trillion. You've even had Moses Kuria say it. You've had the president say it. Our salaries are 1.1. SRC should come and tell national and county government, you work for the people. You're a public servant. Your job is to work for the people with a free will, not to come and become rich. If you want to accept this job in government, come and do public service. Your salaries will be reduced from what you make by 35%. So a governor who makes, let's say, $1 million or 900K, 35% down is like 650. An MCA who is an MP who is making 700, remove 35%, they should be making 450. The president who is at 1.6 million per month, he should also get a pay cut. Everybody from the top, from the president to the chief at the bottom.
Why are you doing them a favor? I would like you to cut these salaries by, let's say, 65%. 65, the opposite of this shit. So mimi I would like mtu wote anakuwa kwa parliament ama mtu wote anafanya kazi ya hiyo mambo ya politics ambao tunachagua wanajitolea kama Wayahudi.
Wajengwe.
Okay? We go on. Wajengwe. Hey bro, I'm feeling good. We are learning, we learn from everybody, no? Thank you. Go on, bro. Go on, man.
Let's learn together here. So our laws, if you want them to be amended to 65, that is one thing. But I'm just saying what our laws are. Our laws are not being followed by the SRC Commission, Salaries Remuneration Committee. Every 12 months, every July 1st, the Auditor General has to audit the money that has been collected by KRA. So they do it within 90 days or so, or maybe 6 months there. So around September, SRC should be coming and saying, we collected 2.3 trillion. We need to calculate that in your calculator. What is 35% of that? It is 750 billion. So now you see, if the SRC is to do that, you would get, if you do 1.1 minus 750, it's like almost 400 billion. For the first time, you'll see Central Bank of Kenya having some money in their account, 400 billion, you know? Now, once you do that, we now come to the ODS debt. I think I've heard someone, Babu Yako, talk about the Eurobonds. We are only talking about the first Eurobond of 2 billion for 2014. Please, people, treasury.go.ke. It's public information. You don't pay. You enter the website. There's a public management finance registry of our debts. We have an additional 4 other Eurobonds. We're just talking about the one for 2014. There is one for 2015 from Citibank Global for $1 billion. In fact, it is due next year around February or March, the principal payment. Over the last 10 years, we've been making interest payments on it. 2018, the year of the handshake, we borrowed another fresh 2 billion Eurobond, but it came in 2 installments. One is due in the year 2028, and the other had the other one is due in the year 2048. It was borrowed for 30 years. Most of us today, if you are 30 years old, that one will be paying it when we are 60. If you're 40 years old, you'll be 70. So we are talking about the 2014 Eurobond for 2 billion, that half of it never entered Kenya. We have another one in 2023 under last year, now under Ruto, borrowed for 1.2 billion. That one will be repaid in 7 years. I think it is due in the year 2030 or last year. None of these Eurobonds, we owe a total of 6.2 or $6.1 billion in Eurobonds. None of these Eurobonds are in any approved appropriation act over the last 10 years from 2014 to 2023 last year. None of them. We're talking about one for 2014. We have 4 more that are coming up for payment. None of them were tied to a project. Remember, PFM law, section 15, subclause 2C, we only borrow for development. And that is why the finance bill was rejected by Okiya Matata, or he petitioned for it and it has been rejected, because revenue estimates, any money borrowed has to be tied to a project and has to be approved by Parliament. So there is another $6 billion worth of Eurobonds that are maturing in the next couple of years, and one in the year 2048. None of them have gone to a project. Now, I think the question comes, how did this money come in, and how is the controller of budget at CBK dispersing funds? That is another alien question to ask. Okay. Now, an act of parliament was passed in 2013-2014 to add another bank account number at CBK called the sovereign bank account. Our law in Kenya, we only have one bank account at CBK. Then it's 10,039.87. That is your bank account number as a Kenyan. That is all of us, our bank account. Any money borrowed, and that is in the Constitution section 206, we only have one bank account, not two, not three, not four, because that bank account is where, when KRA collects money monthly and pushes the money to CBK, Central Bank of Kenya, the control of budget only moves money in and pushes money in and out of that one bank account. It's account number 10,039.87. That is our bank account. Now, where are the Eurobonds? The Eurobonds go to another account. I think it's 8,260 something. The control of budget Nyakeo has no access to move money in and out of that bank account. She only uses the one that is in the Constitution, which is our Kenyan citizens' account. So she does not see where the Eurobonds are coming in, or if they do come in, or where they go, or where they go to pay, or what they go to do. And none of them have ever been approved towards a project. They cannot be found in any Appropriation Act development document at Treasury. So, right now as we speak, we owe almost 1 trillion in Eurobonds. If you convert to the exchange rate, that's 6 billion or 6.2, depending if the exchange rate is at 130, 120 something. It's almost 1 trillion. So out of our national debt, I really don't know what is going on. All I know is there's a gap somewhere at CBK, because every 6 months, the Eurobonds and China loans are paid every, I think between March and October, they're paid 2 installments of interest per month, per year. Somehow the COB is submitting interest.
And which account is paying this money? Our account? Or
yes,
no,
yes, it can't. Yes, which is wrong. That's what I'm
very
saying.
wrong. What the fuck?
There's a gap. There's a gap with our control of budget, Nyakeo. She's dispersing funds to pay these loans that have, and Nyakeo, what the control of budget does, people, maybe some of you know, maybe some don't. Any loan repayments that are done, she uses the Appropriations Act development. She goes in and says, oh, we borrowed money in 2015, 2016 to do a project. She sees it there because it was passed in Parliament. She disperses the funds to the external people who give us money. My question is...
Shortly, Daktari. Just a minute.
Yes.
Her name is Margaret Nyakango. And
Yes.
I'm sorry to report to this space that I was among the people who went to arrest her in Mombasa. Kindly.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunakaa kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako.
Nasikia watu wanasema baba ametusaliti. Between baba kutusaliti na sisi kusaliti baba, Nani amesaliti mwingine?
Inapeangwa, it mostly goes to foreign ministries. So Baba is overqualified for that position.
To build this railways for Africa. So now he's thinking about tumemkataa kama baba wetu.
Unaweza kuwa kuna mtoto ulizaa ukapatia nchi ikuwe inamfanya vile inataka.
Uhuru has been working very hard. Ruto akaenda huko na nguvu. Ruto was never invited in the inauguration.
Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye Soundcard Talk.
Open Forum Political Discussion Show. The show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development.
Tukutane Soundcard Talk.